Early on the evening of December 8, 1980, avid Beatles fan Mark David Chapman waited outside the Dakota luxury apartments in New York City, which was home to musician and former Beatles member John Lennon. Lennon was leaving his apartment to attend a recording session when he ran into Chapman outside the building. Lennon signed a copy of his album Double Fantasy for Chapman and proceeded to the studio. Later that evening, Lennon and his wife, Yoko Ono, returned home to the Dakota. As the couple approached the entrance to the building, Mark David Chapman fired 5 shots from a .38 caliber revolver into John Lennon's back. Chapman remained at the scene, reading a copy of J.D. Salinger's novel, Catcher in the Rye, until police arrived. Meanwhile, John Lennon was rushed to Roosevelt Memorial Hospital, where he was declared dead on arrival. John Lennon was 40 years old. In the 4 decades since the murder of John Lennon, dozens of reported sightings of his ghost have been reported in and around the Dakota. Even his wife Yoko Ono reportedly encountered the ghost of John Lennon in their apartment. Even before the tragic death of John Lennon, the upscale luxury apartment known as the Dakota has been the site of numerous ghostly sightings and paranormal activity for over a century. In today's episode, we will look into the mysterious events surrounding the Dakota. The Dakota is an upscale luxury apartment building located on the corner of 72nd Street and Central Park West in the Upper West Side of Manhattan in New York City. Construction on the Dakota was completed in 1884, and this historic building has been home to dozens of notable public figures and prominent celebrities throughout the decades. These include such notable names as actress Lauren Bacall, singer Rosemary Clooney, composer and conductor Leonard Bernstein, dancer Rudolf Nureyev, football great Joe Namath, comedian Gilda Radner, actor Boris Karloff, actress Judy Garland, sports commentator and football coach John Madden, and of course, musician and composer John Lennon, just to name a few. Throughout its history, the Dakota has been reported to be home to numerous specters and restless spirits as well. Throughout the history of the Dakota building, residents and visitors have reported strange occurrences taking place there. From hearing footsteps where no one else was around, to objects mysteriously moving on their own. One day, Dakota residents Frederick and Susanna Weinstein were walking home to their apartment. As they approached the Dakota, they looked up at their unit and saw the lights of a chandelier in their living room window. The odd thing was, they had no chandelier in their apartment. The couple quickly went up to their apartment, only to find that the lights were gone. They did notice, however, that there was a painted-over metal plate with bolts coming through it in their ceiling where a chandelier had once hung. There have been several reports of strange lights and glowing mists moving through the corridors of the building. Over the years, numerous residents have reported seeing the spirit of a young girl. She is described as a beautiful young child of about 6 to 7 years old with curly blonde hair, wearing a bright yellow dress. She sports high white stockings and black patent leather shoes with silver buckles, looking as though she came out of the 19th century. She is often seen in the corridors bouncing a big red ball and then saying, "It's my birthday," and then ultimately disappears down the corridor. During the 1960s, while construction and remodeling was taking place at the Dakota, several construction workers reported seeing a strange ghostly figure having the body of a full-grown man but with the face of a young boy. The workers said they would see the ghostly figure stare intently at them while they were working, but when anyone tried to approach the apparition, it would mysteriously disappear. Residents and employees of the Dakota have reported seeing the ghostly figure of a man approach them in the hallways of the building and then greet them by removing the wig off the top of his head. This is thought to be the ghost of Edward Cabot Clark, the man who was responsible for building the Dakota. The ghostly apparition has been described as a man with a short beard, large nose, and glasses. This description closely resembles Edward Clark, who was also known to wear a wig. In the 1930s, an electrician who had been working in the basement of the Dakota claims to have encountered the ghost on 4 separate occasions. Each time, the man would give the electrician an angry look, and then reach up to grab the wig off the top of his head and angrily shake it in the electrician's face. For decades, residents of the building have reported seeing the ghost of a crying woman roaming the hallways of the Dakota. She is often seen wearing a black dress and a black hat of a style from the 1940s. This is said to be the ghost of Elise Vesley. Elise Vesley was the manager of the Dakota during the 1930s and 1940s. Mrs. Vesley suffered a terrible loss when her young son was struck and killed by a truck on the street just outside the Dakota. Before his own death, John Lennon claimed to have seen the ghost of the crying lady roaming the corridors of the Dakota. Since the time John Lennon was shot and killed in 1980 at the entranceway to the Dakota building by Mark David Chapman, people have claimed to see his ghost wandering about on the property. In 1983, musician Joey Harrow and his friend Amanda Moores were walking down 72nd Street past the Dakota building. As the couple were directly in front of the building, they saw the ghost of John Lennon standing in the Dakota entrance doorway. Harrow said that the ghost of John Lennon was surrounded by an eerie light, while Amanda Moore stated, "I wanted to go up and talk to him, but something in the way he looked at me said no." Several residents have claimed to see the ghost of John Lennon pacing the corridors of the building. Lennon's wife, Yoko Ono, witnessed John's ghost playing the piano in their apartment. He even spoke to her, saying, "Do not be afraid, I am still here with you." The Dakota was declared a historic cultural landmark in 1969 and was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1972. Despite its historic significance and luxurious setting, there is a bit of a somber note and a feeling of darkness that surrounds the Dakota. Also adding to the dark vibe of the building is the fact that the Dakota was the setting used in the 1968 horror film Rosemary's Baby. Perhaps John Lennon himself summed things up the best with his quote, "Who's to say that dreams and nightmares aren't as real as the here and now?" This concludes today's episode of the Paranormal Report. If you enjoyed today's episode, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel. The team at the Paranormal Report really appreciates your support.